Welcome back to the Breakfast Club. Brian Angus, Bill Hayes. Delighted to be joined by a guy that I've known for a long time since he came here to Toronto, and who I have the utmost respect for, Alex Anthopoulos, who's the general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Glad to be on.
Alex, you know, I just first of all wanted to ask you, Christmas time's coming and all the rest of it. You got your Christmas shopping done yet? Have you had a second?
You know what, I haven't. Fortunately, I have a great wife that has done all that kind of stuff, and she's getting into basically the way things are being done. She's done a bunch of things online, but with 2 kids at home, she still managed to get a lot of it done. So I've done 0, to be honest.
Well, you know, I hate to say, to put your feet to the fire on this, I think you've done a lot of Christmas shopping for a lot of Blue Jay fans. And, you know, I can't recall, and I've lived in the city most of my life, I cannot recall a time when people were as excited about baseball at this time of year. Congratulations on making the deals. I know this latest one must have been a little more difficult for you because you gave up a lot more, I think, in this one than the last one. When I first heard it, I went, oh, it might be too much. But I got to tell you, I'm coming around, and the reaction has been just magnificent.
No, I completely agree. And the first time, you know, this deal with the Mets, I mean, that price had been established. It was actually even a little higher than that the first time before the winter meetings. I cringed, and my first reaction was, no way am I even going to consider that. And you know, the more you start chewing on it, the more you start looking at the player, the more you start analyzing your own players. You look at where the club is, and I think the big one for me is, as painful as that price was, and trust me, we tried to do it for less, and I spent about a month trying to do it for less, but to all due credit to Sandy Alderson, he knew what he had in a Cy Young Award winner.
Yep. I
think ultimately, to simplify it, the way I looked at it was, if RA had been on our team this past year, coming off the Cy Young, going into 2013, and if we could extend him for 3 to 4 years at a certain dollar value, and the New York Mets had guys like Syndergaard and Darno, and they had called us up with our current roster with Reyes and Burley and Dickey, you know, and offered us those guys for Dickey, as fair as it would have been value-wise, we couldn't have done it, and we would have kept the player. And I think ultimately, if the roles were reversed, that kind of put me over the top to realize I probably wouldn't be making this deal because we're trying to win, we're set up to win, and we wouldn't be in a position to trade a frontline starter who won the Cy Young for 2 prospects as good as they might be.
Alex, I've been talking with you since 2003 when you came to this team as a scouting coordinator, and you've rose up through the ranks, and obviously there's no questions I have left to ask you that you haven't been asked before. Bill and I will continue to discuss the team with you. What I wanted to ask you is, I know that you adore your wife and your 2 children, and obviously you've done, and I tried to explain to people earlier today, having, you know, been in the business of getting guests on 24/7 for nearly 20 years, the enormous demand that there's been on your time. How are you managing to cope with that as far as time for the family is concerned as well? Is it difficult for you?
It is. I think you have to have someone who's very patient overall. I mean, I'm heading into work right now. I'm just need to get some stuff done today, but you need to have a wife or a partner, or whoever it is, unless you're single, obviously, but who's very understanding, very patient. And my thought is, and maybe it's not a optimistic way to look at it, you know, you only have so many years to be a GM. You know, normally these jobs don't last a long time, and as I've told my wife, at some point it's going to come to an end, and our kids, I think, are still young enough that I want to put in, you know, every ounce of my energy and time into this job now, and when it comes to an end, whether it's after a 4-year run or a 5-year run or 10-year run, I can look back and I don't have any regrets. You know, it's going to end, but I know I'm not going to be doing this for the next 30 years or 40 years. It's just not realistic. So you feel you have one opportunity, and I think from my standpoint, I'm fortunate enough that my kids are young enough that I don't really know what's going on. You know, my daughter's 2, my son's 4 months old, and by the time I think I'm out of the job, I don't know that it'll impact it that much. But when you are home, you try to make time, you try to find time, and you know, I'm definitely improving, but I'm not there yet, and I definitely can get better overall.
Well, she couldn't have been prepared in any way, shape, or form to know the amount of time you're going to spend, you know, doing what you're doing right now. But I have to ask you, just because we're all human beings, we all go home to the wife, and the kids don't know you as anything but dad. But does your missus critique you when you go home?
You know what? Oh, about Moses?
Mine sure does.
Yeah, about life and being late, and you know, one thing she asks is that I can be home for dinner at 7 o'clock. That's the one things she finds very important, which I agree with her. And I might leave early in the morning, and I might have to do work afterwards, but I do try to get time. But yeah, she doesn't. She's not a fan in the sense of, she's obviously learned a little bit about the team over the years. But I remember when we were going to trade Vernon Wells, and I had to go to the basement late at night to try to complete the deal with Anaheim, and I came up to bed, and it was probably 1 in the morning, and I said, "Hey, I just traded Vernon Wells." She's like, "All right, I'll see you in the morning." Like, it was no impact for some type of reaction, but it was like, "All right, we're trying to trade for so and so," and which I kind of like, because she doesn't. It's about me. It's not about the job. We met when I was a scouting coordinator, making $35,000 a year, and she worked at the bank, making a lot more money than I did, and she didn't care. And she's kind of been along the journey with me. So, from that standpoint, I think she's I try to prepare her for the reality of you're going to see me get ripped, you're going to see me get fired one day. It's just part of the job. But let's try to enjoy what we can, and when it's over, it's over.
Well, you're a lucky man, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It sure sounds like you know it, which is a big part of the equation. Alex, I want to ask you something that when I started looking over the timeline, this off season has been amazing, as you well know, and it all started with the John Farrell situation. And I have to ask, do you get a sense that that's really what inspired the belief to go for it now from those above you? Because that was a tough time for the franchise. I can remember hearing you talk about it, and I have to think that might have had some reason, or been some reason, why all of a sudden the money was there for the Miami deal and now for this one. Do you get that sense at all? Did that have anything to do with it?
No, actually, but I understand. To link those things up, I understand completely. It's one thing if we had won 85 games or 90 games, and John had still left to go to the Red Sox. I don't know that John having left would have changed anything. I think ultimately, you live through 89 losses, winning 73 games. It makes for a miserable summer. Mm-hmm. It's not fun for the fans. It's not fun for ownership. It's not fun for the front office. And I remember right at the end of the season, John hadn't left. John was still here. This was 2 or 3 days after the season. We had what we call a town hall meeting, the entire organization, Rogers Center staff, Blue Jays staff, everybody who works down at the Dome. And Paul Beeston spoke, Stephen Brooks spoke, and then I spoke. And I don't prepare speeches with this stuff. I just speak from the heart. And I just told everybody, I said, look, I do not want to live through what we just lived through again. It's embarrassing. It's not fun. You feel a great sense of responsibility. You have fans that wake up every day and live and die with the team and watch the games. You have all the employees that obviously they love their jobs, but they love the team as well. And there's a great responsibility when you're a GM that if something goes wrong, it's on you to get it fixed. And the other employees are helpless because they can't make trades. They can't change the roster. They can certainly have ideas. So you do feel like you let everybody, and it's not to sound corny, but you do feel like you're letting everybody down. And you want to do a great job, one, because you want to win, but you realize the amount of people. Really, the team, and any sports team, is a public trust. And then you also have the 300 employees in the organization that look to you to deliver a winning product. So from that standpoint, it was really coming down to where are we at with this organization. We have Batista, who's 32. We have Encarnacion, who's 30. We have Morrow. We have Romero. We have all these players. We had a bunch of young prospects that we liked. Are we closer to winning, or are we closer to going the other way? We felt we were closer to winning, and we thought the injuries were a big part of that. And for 4 months, before all the injuries really came through, we were 2 games out of the wild card. So we felt we needed to make one last push, try to get it over the top, and the deals ended up presenting themselves, the Marlins deal and obviously this last deal. But our thought was going to be to maybe spend in free agency a little bit, not necessarily to make big trades.
You're doing a great job as the GM of the Jays right now. It's well acknowledged, but I think your greatest accomplishment ever was scouting that Greek national team in the 2004 Olympics to 7th place.
You know what? I will say this. My biggest, the great part was we didn't go over. We won 1 game. We beat the Italians.
That's all that matters.
Exactly. There's something to be said there. We weren't the worst team there, but it was that was an unbelievable experience. I got to live in the village. Got to walk out with the other athletes in the opening ceremonies. Experience of a lifetime that I'll never forget. And the advanced scouting got us 1-7. I think, or 1-6. But we almost beat this as well.
I'm just joking, but the real question, and the last one I wanted to ask you, Alex, is that, this year obviously it's a different kettle of fish now after everything that you've done and Beastie and the front office staff there. This team now comes in. I know it's crazy to say, but they're favorite to win the World Series in Las Vegas. This time you come into the season expected to win by all the fans and media and everyone else. That pressure is completely different from coming in and flying underneath the radar behind Boston and the Yankees in Tampa. Which would you rather have?
Well, I guess I would say I'd always prefer to fly underneath the radar, but I'd rather have the best team that we can, and if that means the expectations are greater, so be it. You'd much rather feel good about your chances than hoping and praying everything has to go right and everyone needs to have a career year. But all that being said, I think it's fair. We made a lot of changes. We added a lot of payroll. That goes without saying. I just don't want the organization or our players to, all of a sudden have a sense of arrogance and think we're just going to roll out the bats and balls and win all kinds of games and get to the playoffs. So we've seen it. I just would remind everybody of teams like Anaheim last year with the moves they made, and Boston 2 years ago, and even Seattle, I think, 3 years ago, and everyone was very excited.
I have to ask you one last thing myself, and I think it's a question a lot of people are asking. Are you done? Are you looking, because you've made, an awful lot of moves here. Some might say you need another catcher, perhaps, another veteran catcher in case JP Arancibia, God forbid, goes down for any length of time. Are you still looking to add to the roster?
We are. We're looking, and I'd say more in the minor league free agent side. We're still talking to Darren Oliver right now. I'm not optimistic he's going to come back, but I think we're going to try to put that to bed here in the next week or so. And I think it would be tweaks, but there's no question we continue to try to stockpile depth and do some things. So I think for the most part, in terms of big moves, we're certainly done. And I think you might see just some small tweaks, 25th man, maybe depth behind the plate, another reliever if we can, whether it's an Oliver or somebody else. So I think you'll see some small moves that we might still make. And who knows, if something falls in our lap in January and we don't have to add on a lot of payroll, certainly we'll look at it, but I would only expect small moves at this point.
When you're talking to your players right now, do you notice, I'm noticing from tweets and whatnot, Ricky Romero really excited, JP Arancibia, do you notice a palpable difference in the way they feel about the forthcoming season?
No doubt about it. They all want to win. They're all dying to win. They prepare themselves, and the players will be the last ones that'll care about prospects and guys are going to be down the road and they won't get a chance to play with anyways. They want a chance to win now. So I think anytime ownership gives them the opportunity to win and to compete, they love it and they're thrilled. And it also makes me feel good that we promised this group and this core that we would do everything we could to put as good a team on the field as we could. And when the time was right, we would spend money and do certain things. And I feel good we were able to live up to that promise overall by improving the roster. So again, that doesn't guarantee playoffs or World Series or anything like that, but I definitely like our chances. And I think everyone can agree we've definitely improved our chances from last year.
Oh, no question.
Alex, you've remained the same guy as you were when we first talked way back in 2003. I've kept in touch with you on and off via text. You did not have to do this morning and explain to everyone out there. I'm no longer in a position where, I'm the senior guy at the Fan and we're rights holders, but it doesn't surprise me that as a favor to me this morning you did this. I look forward to talking to you somewhere further down the road. I know it won't be on a regular basis, but I'll keep in touch.
Best of luck.
Glad to do it, guys, and thank you very much. Have a great holiday.
And you.
And Merry Christmas to you and the family, the wife and kids, Alex. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.